Cologne 1,500 years ago. Rome's frontier capital on the Rhine. Stand in front of Cologne Cathedral and look up. The two towers of the Kleiner Dom rise 157 meters above the Rhine plain, the tallest twin-spired church in the world. A Gothic masterpiece that took over 6 centuries to complete, its foundation stone laid in 1248, and its final spire not finished until 1880. Behind you, the Rhine moves through the center of one of Germany's largest cities. Around you, the infrastructure of a modern European metropolis, the Hauptbahnhof, the Hohenzollern Bridge, the glass towers of the financial district, 12 Romanesque churches scattered across the old city center like architectural fossils of a medieval past. Now remove all of it. Remove the cathedral. Remove the medieval churches. Remove the Roman Catholic Archdiocese that has operated continuously on this ground since the 4th century. Remove the Hohenzollern Bridge and every bridge before it. Remove the modern city and the medieval city beneath it. What you are left with is Colonia Agrippina, and what you are left with is extraordinary. One of the most important Roman cities north of the Alps. A provincial capital on the western bank of the Rhine, the most strategically significant river in the Roman Empire's northwestern frontier. A city of perhaps 20,000 to 30,000 people inside its walls, built on a precise Roman colonial grid, enclosed by a defensive wall circuit of dressed stone that still shapes the street plan of modern Cologne. A city where Roman governors administered the province of Germania Inferior, where Roman legions crossed the Rhine on their way to the frontier, where wine and olive oil from the Mediterranean and glass from Rhineland workshops and grain from the fertile Rhine Valley moved through one of Rome's most active northern trading hubs. The cathedral you are looking at today was built on or near the site of a Roman temple. The ground beneath the cathedral treasury has yielded Roman mosaics of extraordinary quality. The bones of Cologne's Roman past are everywhere beneath your feet. This is the story of what that city actually was. Chapter 1. The founding of Colonia Agrippina. The city that became Cologne did not begin as a Roman colonial foundation. It began as a military and diplomatic reality on Rome's most contested northern frontier. The Rhine had become Rome's effective northeastern boundary in the aftermath of the catastrophic Roman defeat at the Battle of Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD. When 3 Roman legions under Publius Quinctilius Varus were ambushed and destroyed in the forests of Germania by a Germanic coalition led by Arminius of the Carusi, the defeat ended Rome's attempt to extend its territory to the Elbe and establish the Rhine as the practical limit of Roman territorial control in the northwest. On the western bank of the Rhine, in the territory of a Germanic people called the Ubi, the Romans had already established a settlement. The Ubi were a tribe that had been relocated from the eastern to the western bank of the Rhine by the Roman general Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa around 38 BC, as part of a policy of establishing friendly Germanic peoples as a buffer between Roman territory and the more hostile tribes further east. The Ubi's settlement on the western bank, the Oppidum Ubiorum, the town of the Ubi, became the base for Roman military and administrative activity in the lower Rhine region. The formal elevation of the settlement to the status of a Roman colony occurred in 50 AD, under the Emperor Claudius, and it was named with deliberate political significance. Agrippina the Younger, Claudius's wife, and the mother of the future Emperor Nero, had been born at the Ubi settlement. The new colony was named Colonia Claudia Era Agrippinensium, the Claudian colony, at the altar of the Agrippinians, shortened in common usage to Colonia Agrippina, and eventually contracted to the name it bears today, Cologne, in English, or Klein in German. The naming reflected the extraordinary political significance of Agrippina the Younger, one of the most powerful women in the history of the Roman Empire, a woman who had been born in this provincial city, grown up to become empress consort, and now used her influence with Claudius to elevate her birthplace to colonial status, the highest rank a Roman city could hold. The colony of Cologne was, from its formal foundation, a city with imperial connections at the highest level. The strategic importance of the location was as compelling as the political symbolism. Colonia Agrippina sat at the point where the major road network of Roman Gaul approached the Rhine, a natural crossing point, a natural trading hub, a natural administrative center for the Roman presence on the lower Rhine frontier. What the Romans built here over the following 3 centuries was commensurate with that importance. Chapter 2: The Urban Layout and City Plan. The Roman city of Colonia Agrippina was planned and built on the precise geometric principles that Roman colonial urban planning applied to new foundations across the empire. A regular grid of streets oriented to the cardinal points, enclosed within a rectangular defensive wall circuit, organized around a central forum and public building complex. The city walls of Roman Cologne were among the most substantial urban defensive circuits north of the Alps. Constructed in the late 1st and early 2nd centuries AD, the wall enclosed an approximately rectangular area of roughly 96 hectares, a substantial urban footprint for a Roman city in the northwestern provinces. The wall was built of tough stone of volcanic rock quarried from the Eifel region southwest of Cologne and transported to the city by road and river with a facing of dressed stone and an internal rubble core. Its height is estimated at approximately 8 meters, with towers at regular intervals and monumental gates at the points where the main roads entered the city. The most significant surviving element of the Roman wall circuit is the Murturm, the Roman tower, standing in the northwestern corner of the ancient circuit, near the modern intersection of Bergmauer and St. This tower, its lower courses of Roman masonry still intact and visible, is the most physically immediate connection between modern Cologne and its Roman past, a corner tower of the ancient city wall that has stood on this spot for approximately 1,900 years. The street grid of Roman Cologne was organized around 2 principal axes, the Cardo Maximus running north to south and the Decumanus Maximus running east to west, intersecting near the center of the walled area at the Forum complex. The remnants of this Roman grid are still traceable in the street plan of Cologne's historic center. The course of the ancient Cardo Maximus is preserved in the line of the modern Hohe Straße, the High Street, one of Cologne's principal commercial streets, which follows the Roman north-south axis with remarkable fidelity across 2 millennia of continuous use. The Forum complex of Colonia Agrippina occupied a central position in the city, the administrative or commercial and religious heart of the Roman settlement. Archaeological investigation has established its approximate location beneath the modern city center, and the scale of the complex was appropriate to the city's status as a provincial capital. The Forum was surrounded by the standard complex of Roman public buildings, the basilica serving as the law court and commercial exchange, the Temple of the Capitoline Triad asserting the city's Roman religious identity, the administrative offices of the provincial government. Chapter 3: The Praetorium, seat of Roman power. Among the most significant structures in Roman Cologne, and among the most remarkable archaeological discoveries in modern Germany, the Praetorium, the palace of the Roman governor of Germania Inferior, the official residence and administrative center of the highest Roman authority in the Lower Rhine province. The Praetorium of Cologne has been extensively investigated archaeologically, and its remains are displayed in an underground museum, the Praetorium Klein, directly beneath the modern Rathaus, the City Hall of Cologne. The juxtaposition is historically perfect. The administrative center of the modern city built directly above the administrative center of the Roman city, on the same ground, an unbroken institutional continuity across nearly 2,000 years. The Roman Praetorium was a substantial complex, a large building appropriate to the residence and working environment of the governor of an important frontier province. The governor of Germania Inferior was one of the senior military and administrative officials in the Roman imperial system, typically a senator of consular rank, responsible for the military defense of the Rhine frontier and the civil administration of the province. The building complex that housed this official and his extensive staff, military tribunes, legal advisors, financial officials, secretarial staff, slaves, and guards, was of commensurate scale and quality. Archaeological investigation of the Praetorium has revealed successive phases of construction and renovation extending from the 1st to the 4th century AD, reflecting the continuous importance of the building across the full span of Roman Cologne's history. Floor mosaics, Wall paintings and architectural elements recovered from the site confirm a level of decorative investment consistent with the building's function as the seat of imperial authority in the province. The Dionysus mosaic, one of the most spectacular Roman mosaics found anywhere north of the Alps, was discovered in Cologne in 1941 during the construction of an air raid shelter beneath a site on the Germania that had been the location of a large Roman private house. The mosaic, measuring approximately 70 square meters, depicts scenes from the myth of Dionysus in intricate polychrome tesserae of extraordinary quality. It is now displayed in the Romano-Germanic Museum, the Riche Germanisches Museum, which was built in 1974, directly over the site of its discovery, leaving the mosaic in its original location. This mosaic alone would make Roman Cologne remarkable in the archaeology of the northwestern Roman provinces. Chapter for population and social structure. The population of Colonia Agrippina at its 2nd and early 3rd century peak is estimated by historians at somewhere between 20,000 and 30,000 people within the city walls, with additional population in the suburbs, the extramural settlements that developed along the roads leading out from the city gates. This figure places Cologne among the larger cities in the Roman northwestern provinces, comparable to Londinium at its peak, and significantly larger than most other Roman settlements north of the Alps outside the major provincial capitals. The city's population was sustained by its economic functions: administrative center, military supply hub, Rhine crossing point, and trading center, rather than by a large agricultural hinterland within walking distance of the walls. The social composition of Roman Cologne reflected both its status as a Roman colonial foundation and its position on an active frontier. At the top of the social hierarchy sat the colonial elite, the wealthy landowners and municipal magistrates of the Ordo Decurionum, the city council, whose members were required to meet property qualifications and who governed the colony through annually elected magistrates. These were the descendants of the original colonial settlers, supplemented over time by wealthy immigrants and successful freedmen families who had accumulated the property required for council membership. The military and administrative presence gave Roman Cologne a distinctive social character. The governor's staff, the officers of units stationed in or passing through the city, the officials of the provincial financial administration, the procurator's office, and the specialists required to maintain the infrastructure of a frontier city created a substantial population of people connected to the imperial administrative and military apparatus. The evidence for the diversity of Cologne's Roman population comes from its extensive epigraphic record, the inscriptions on tombstones, dedications, and public monuments that survive in the collections of the Romano-Germanic Museum. These inscriptions document individuals from across the Roman world, soldiers from the Balkan provinces, merchants from the eastern Mediterranean, craftsmen from Gaul and Britain. A city on a major frontier and trading route drew people from the empire's full geographic range. Chapter 5: Trade, Glass, and Economic Life. The economic life of Roman Cologne was defined by its position at the intersection of two of the most important commercial arteries in the northwestern Roman world, the Rhine river system and the road network of Roman Gaul. The Rhine was navigable from Cologne to the North Sea, giving the city direct water access to the coastal trading routes of the English Channel and the North Sea littoral. Upstream, the Rhine connected Cologne to the military installations of the Upper Rhine frontier and to the commercial centers of Gaul. The combination of river and road connectivity made Cologne a natural intrepid, a place where goods from multiple origins converged for redistribution. The city's most distinctive and historically significant economic activity was its glass industry. Roman Cologne was one of the most important centers of glass production in the entire Roman Empire, and its output is represented in museum collections across Europe and beyond. The Kleiner Glas Cologne glass was produced by workshops in and around the city from at least the 1st century AD, and the quality and variety of the work produced is extraordinary. The glass workshops of Roman Cologne produced vessels of every type: drinking cups, storage vessels, unguentaria for perfumes and cosmetics, decorative pieces, and techniques that included free blowing, mold blowing, and the extraordinarily technically demanding method of cage cups, the diatrida. Cage cups are among the most technically challenging objects produced in the entire ancient world. Vessels in which an outer cage of glass in an intricate geometric or figured pattern is cut from a single thick-walled blank and undercut to stand free of the inner vessel, connected only by small glass struts. The production of a single cage cup required skills and tools of the highest precision, and the concentration of their production in Cologne is documented by the number of surviving examples with Rhineland provenance. The Cologne diatrechless cage cups produced in Roman Cologne are now among the most prized objects in the collections of the Romano-Germanic Museum. Their production in this specific city reflects the concentration of specialist craft knowledge and skilled workers that a wealthy provincial capital on an active trade route could sustain. Beyond glass, the economic activity of Roman Cologne included pottery production. The city's workshops produced significant quantities of the coarse and fine wares needed by its large population. Metalworking, leatherworking, and the full range of craft production acquired by a functioning Roman city. The commercial infrastructure included the forum market, specialist traders along the city's colonnaded streets, and the riverside warehouses and loading facilities that served the Rhine trade. Chapter 6: Religion and Sacred Space. The religious landscape of Roman Cologne was, like that of all major Roman cities, pluralistic in practice and organized around the official civic religion of the Roman state. The Capitolium, the temple, the Capitoline triad of Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva stood within the Forum complex and served as the focal point of the city's official Roman religious observance. Public sacrifice, civic ceremonies, and the expression of loyalty to the Roman imperial system through religious ritual were conducted here, as they were at the Capitolia of Roman cities across the empire. The connection between the Roman religious topography of Cologne and the modern city's most famous building is one of the most compelling examples of long-term site continuity in European urban history. The Cologne Cathedral, the Kleiner Dom, stands on a site of continuous religious use whose documented history extends back to the 4th century AD, when a Roman building, possibly a temple, occupied this prominent position near the Rhine riverbank on the eastern edge of the Roman city. An early Christian church was established on or near this site in the Roman period, and the sequence of religious structures on the Dom Gel, the cathedral hill, has been continuous from the late Roman period to the present. Archaeological investigations beneath the Cologne Cathedral and in the surrounding area have confirmed the deep stratigraphy of the site. Roman mosaics discovered beneath the cathedral treasury, the Domschatzkammer, are displayed in situ and accessible to visitors, providing a direct physical connection between the modern building and the Roman city beneath it. The cathedral treasury itself holds objects spanning nearly 2 millennia of religious activity on this ground. Beyond the official Roman cult, Cologne's religious diversity is documented in archaeological and epigraphic evidence. Dedications to Eastern mystery cults Mithras, Isis, Cybele appear in the city's inscriptional record, reflecting the presence of soldiers, merchants, and immigrants from the eastern provinces who brought their religious practices with them. The presence of a Jewish community in Roman Cologne is attested by the documentary record. The Jewish community of Cologne is among the oldest north of the Alps, its presence documented in a Roman imperial rescript of 321 AD that addressed the Jewish community of Cologne specifically, making it one of the earliest documentary references to a Jewish community in what is now Germany. Chapter 7: The Rhine Frontier and Military Significance. Colonia Agrippina's identity was inseparable from its function as the primary urban center of Rome's Lower Rhine frontier, and the military reality of that frontier shaped every aspect of the city's existence. The Rhine, in Roman strategic thinking, was not merely a river. It was the empire's frontier, the line that separated Roman-controlled territory from the Germanic world that Rome had failed to conquer after Teutoburg Forest. The maintenance of that frontier acquired a permanent military presence, a supply infrastructure, and an administrative center capable of coordinating the defense of hundreds of kilometers of riverbank. the legionary fortress of Castra Vetera, modern Xanten, approximately 70 kilometers downstream from Cologne, was the primary legionary base for the lower Rhine sector. Cologne itself did not house a full legion within its walls. After its elevation to colonial status, the garrison of a Roman colony was a municipal guard rather than a legionary force. But the city functioned as the administrative and logistical hub for the military operations of the entire Lower Rhine province. The governor's Praetorium in Cologne was the command center from which the military affairs of the province were coordinated. Military units were supplied through Cologne's commercial infrastructure. The road network radiating from the city's gates connected it to the legionary fortresses and auxiliary forts of the Rhine frontier with the efficiency that Roman military logistics required. The military significance of Cologne became particularly acute during the periods of crisis that characterized the 3rd century. The Gallic Empire, the breakaway Western Roman state that controlled Gaul, Britain, and Spain from 260 to 274 AD under a succession of emperors based in Gaul, had Cologne as one of its most important cities, and the city may have served as an imperial residence during this period. The instability of the 3rd century brought direct military threat to the Rhine frontier. Germanic incursions across the river in the 250s and 262s reached deep into Roman-controlled territory, and Cologne's defenses were tested in ways they had not been during the relative stability of the 1st and 2nd centuries. The usurper Postumus, the founder of the Gallic Empire, is associated with Cologne by some ancient sources, and the city's importance as a center of military and administrative power in the northwestern provinces is reflected in its role during this turbulent period. The Rhine frontier would remain Rome's primary defensive concern in the northwest until the dramatic events of the early 5th century, when large Germanic groups crossed the frozen Rhine in the winter of 406 to 407 AD, and began the process that would end Roman control of the northwestern provinces entirely. Conclusion: from Colonia Agrippina to modern Cologne, the Roman city of Colonia Agrippina did not end suddenly or dramatically. Like most Roman cities in the northwestern provinces, it underwent a long, complex transformation across the 5th and 6th centuries as Roman administrative structures dissolved, as the Frankish kingdom established itself in the former Roman territory, and as the city adapted to a world in which the imperial systems that had created and sustained it no longer existed. What makes Cologne exceptional in this process of post-Roman transformation is the degree to which the Roman city's physical and institutional legacy survived. The wall circuit, largely intact into the early medieval period, defined the city's boundaries for centuries after the Roman withdrawal. The street grid preserved in the Cardo Maximus and Decumanus left its geometry in the street plan that is still visible today in the line of the Hohe Straße. The ecclesiastical institution that had established itself in the city during the late Roman period, the bishopric of Cologne, whose first documented bishop, Maternus, appears in records of the Council of Arles in 314 AD, provided the most important element of institutional continuity across the transition from Roman to medieval. The bishops of Cologne maintained the administrative functions, the property records, and the organizational capacity that allowed the city to survive and eventually to flourish again as the most important city in the medieval German Rhineland. Walk through Cologne today, and the Roman past is present in ways that reward attention. The Remurturm in the northwest corner of the ancient wall circuit, the Praetorium display beneath the modern Rathaus, the Dionysus mosaic in the Romano-Germanic Museum, displayed in its original location, the Roman mosaics visible beneath the cathedral treasury, the line of the Hohe Straße following the Roman Cardo, the 12 Romanesque churches of the medieval city, several built on the sites of Roman temples or early Christian foundations that themselves overlay Roman structures. The Kleiner Dom, the building that dominates every view of modern Cologne, was built to be the greatest Gothic church in the world, and it largely succeeded. But it was built on ground that had been sacred in one form or another since the Roman period. The site continuity beneath that extraordinary building is a microcosm of everything that Cologne's history represents: the accumulation of human significance on a single piece of ground over 2,000 years, each layer building on and incorporating the one before it. Colonia Agrippina was Rome's frontier capital on the Rhine, a city that stood at the edge of the empire's reach and managed, for nearly 4 centuries, to be both a sophisticated urban center and a working instrument of imperial power on the most contested frontier in the northwestern world. The cathedral above its ruins is one of the most visited buildings in Germany. The Roman city beneath it is one of the least known. Both deserve to be understood, because you cannot fully understand one without knowing about the other.